Howdy. So I was building some swarm traps yesterday and today, and I figured I'd take a few seconds and tell you a little bit about swarm trapping. Not that I do it exactly the right way, but it seems to be pretty successful for me. This right
Hey, if you'd like to learn more about beekeeping the way I do it, please subscribe.
this right here is my most common swarm trap. I use this more than anything else. Uh, It's 5 frames on top with 5 frames empty space. I built this all out of pallet wood and scrap wood. I screw down the top lid. So I'll show you what I got here. When I actually catch a swarm, I do this same process. I have to have a drill with me to when I unload it, and I unscrew the top. Because I just painted it, sticking. All right. So inside the swarm trap, what I did was I coated the inside. I torched it with a big rosebud torch with my barbecue propane tank. Then while it was hot, I rubbed propolis, and they call it slum gum, like the remnants of after you refine wax. I've got like a bunch of it. And so now smells a lot like bees in there, even though it's brand new. Now there's a few different options when you're doing this. One option is these. I like Swarm Commander. A lot of people, this is the Swarm Commander vials. This is the Swarm Commander Super Lube. And Swarm Commander spray. So, first thing I do to get ready is I'm going to give it one nice long sweep of spray on the underside of the lid. Some people do the tops of the bars. I just do the underside of the lid. It's kind of away from the bees. So, now this is the most crucial part of the operation. This is a frame of comb. This was actually from a swarm that died out on me. So it was from a blank frame, but it's brown, and they did several rounds of brood rearing in there. Then next to that nice comb, I do blank frames. Sometimes I have a wooden starter strip. This one has the starter strip. This one does not, but it doesn't bother me. I'll just put that in with and without the starter strip right on either side of the frame that I just added. Then on the ends, and this is kind of my key to keeping it straight, I put some wax foundation on both ends. And that way those undrawn frames, they'll have the inclination to go straight. I can get this in there. See, this was used in a swarm trap, so they built it never had a foundation in it, so that's why I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this in. There we go. And I just pop this in there. So now I have 5 frames. Now my swarm traps, I have these 2 strings for stabilizing it. So now I'm gonna put this lid on. I have little line-up marks so my screws go in the right hole. That, and I just screw it down. Now, the super lure is actually what I'm going to be using for the ones I'm going to be setting out in the next few days, because it's the last week of March. In Michigan, it's too early for swarm traps, but I have this week off work. So it's always the time that you can make sure there's no gaps. The time that you can put them out. So I'm going to be using this super lure, and it's like 13 or 14 bucks on Amazon, which seems like a lot, but I cut these in quarters, and the beauty of these things is they last all season. Technically, the brown brood comb is good enough for a swarm attractant, but this little bit of lemongrass sometimes. Now, I'm not gonna necessarily do it today because I'm just gonna be hanging this one up by my barn. But sometimes I'll give it a spray, maybe under here, if I can get right in the hole and have it not touch the hole, I'll do it in the hole. And but when I do that, there is such a thing as too much attractant. So if I put too much attractant, it's going to take a month for this to air out enough for bees to want it. I've had several where they've hung on the bottom of the traps, very annoying. And less is more with as far as this goes. Now, a few things I do that are a little different. I have brackets that I hang the traps from. I use a strap. It's not even a ratcheting strap. It's just a cinch strap. Now, most of mine are like this. This is the new model. Originally, I started these. This is old parts from furniture. This was like held a mirror on a dresser. I used an old folding chair and just some bolts that I got cheap and welded them on. And this is an old chain link up there. But now these are pretty slick and easy to make. So it takes me, I can make like in an hour, make 10 of them. So it's not a big deal. And these work really good because putting a nail in the tree, if I hang in a lot of people's properties and they don't like nails in their trees. And also, I like to move my swarm traps around. Maybe that tree has a lot of ants in it and I have to find another tree because it keeps getting bombarded with ants. I do run all different types of swarm traps. I have this right here. This is just a box, right? And when I catch a swarm, I just slide this over. A little stiff right now. There we go. I slide this over and they're locked in. I usually put a piece of duct tape to keep it. All of my swarm traps have vents, including these ones, the vents in the back on these ones. So in transportation, they get pretty overheated. I've heard horror stories. I've never killed a swarm while transporting. I also have doubled up 6-frame nukes because I used to use 6-frame nukes and doubled up 2 deeps, or I've even done a deep and a medium, nail them together, and that's good. And then I also have doubled up 8-frame that someone gave me. It was kind of bequeathed to me. The guy passed away. And so that works good too. I've actually caught some big swarms in that one. The key is when I use these ones, an old box. I usually go deep on top of this migratory lid, strap it all together, and I put it on like a tree stand. I have a few strap-on tree stands that are really quick and easy to hang that I actually welded in the open position just for swarm trapping. So that's how I swarm trap. This one's just gonna hang up, and I hope you have a good swarm trapping season. As far as Michigan here, even though I'm gonna be hanging a few this week and in the end of March, I really don't catch until the last week of April, so they'll be out there a month. So I'll definitely be using the super lure because it lasts all season. So Swarm Commander, if you want to send me more samples for free, I'll keep advertising for you because I do like your product. That gets me a lot of bees. All right, that's it.
All right, I hung it up by my garage, keeping it as a backup swarm trap. And this is another backup swarm trap. They're hung different ways for different types of trees. Here's a bunch of traps I have in my shed, so I have to start prepping those for the season. And there's another shot here of another one. So yeah, I got a bunch. I think that's like 22 there. A lot of work to do before swarm season.